What I would like everyone to do, if you can join me standing and repeat after me. If you can have that one fist up. It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love each other and protect each other.
We must love each other and protect each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love each other and protect each other.
We must love each other and protect each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
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 Thank you. You can be seated. I'm Brother Washington Muhammad. I'm one of the representatives of the Free Ohio Movement. I'm an active and registered member of the Nation of Islam here in Toledo, Ohio. And also I assist with the Community Solidarity Response Network in programming and planning Black Lives Matter activities and also justice or else activities in the city of Toledo. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to collaborate and plan with Brother Sadiq and others to make this happen. And if you can give all of those that helped plan a round of applause today. I had told Queen Tahira that I was going to keep my freedom barometer at about 74, all right, because we're going to engage in intelligent conversation today. And I told her I don't need to oversell it, all right? All I need to do is let her speak, let her engage you. So without further ado, I'd like to present to you our moderator of the day, Queen Tahira. Let's give her a hand.
Thank you, Brother Washington. Thank you to each of you for being here today. By the fact that you did show up, it already shows that you have a certain level of commitment to this struggle, to this fight. So we are going to need that, and it's going to have to come from everyone. No matter if you have someone who is related to you, that you know, a loved one who is a confined citizen, we need to address the fact that this system cannot be rehabilitated. It cannot be recharged or brought back in some other shape or form. What we need to do is abolish it. Get rid of the fact that slavery is still legal in the U.S. No matter where we are, any of us could be a part of this system by choice or by force. And so we're here today as an act of solidarity, as an act of unity, and as an act of community. And we need each one of you to be involved.
My name is Maurice Muhammad. I'm the National Director of the Initiative and Initiative Radio Network from Washington, D.C. And I'm here to help destroy the system and free them all.
I'm Rick Kerger. For 40 years, I've been a trial lawyer in this town. I have done my best to reduce the prison population in Ohio by keeping my clients from being convicted, not always successfully. In 1993, I was asked to represent Steve Abdullah Hassan, and I remain his lawyer today. I can't get away from him. He's infectious, he's charming, and he's very, very smart.
My name is Dennis Bowright. I come from Detroit. I was incarcerated 24 years myself. I've been out 3 years. I'm here to support the Free Ohio Movement as well as other organizations that have been mentioned here. I met Sadiq Abdullah Hassan through mail in 1993 when I was watching the uprising on CNN News, and I subsequently got put in solitary confinement because I was telling the other prisoners we need to be more politically conscious. So I've had the pleasure since I've been out to actually visit him in Youngstown, Ohio. Also, and lastly, I'm a founder of a group called Scholars Behind Bars. And what this nonprofit does is it provides a college equivalent education to people who are incarcerated, because in 1994, the U.S. federal government took all higher education learning out of prison. So prison, the highest education you can get is a GED in prison. So people like myself, I buy my own books, and college books cost $200 or $300 textbook. So when I got out, I started scholarly behind bars, and that's what we do. We give books on political science, economic, engineering, political science, sociology, or whatever the interest of the prison is. Prisoners.
I think that deserves applause.
Very much, everybody. What I'd like to do is, because you all are familiar with Imam Hassan, and I don't know how many of you have seen Netflix, the movie that Imam Hassan is in. Well, right now he is on a 90-day restriction because of he and Jason Rob's involvement in that. Merely because they chose to speak truth to power, as they always do. And because you know Imam Hassan, you know he has no qualms about telling the truth and representing himself. Well, instead of them recognizing the fact that they are fleeing for their lives, they were subsequently punished. So what I'd like to do is get an update from Rick on anything that he has as far as that 90-day restriction goes.
He is still on his hunger strike, he and Jason both did. The particular violation was that one of the producers who talked with them both elected to put two $20 deposits in his commissary account, which he didn't know about. It was not any quid pro quo, there was no discussion of that. He asked at the disciplinary hearing to have a phone hookup with the producer, who was in England, to have her explain what she'd done and that he hadn't asked for it. They refused to allow him to do that. We don't have time for that. They have witnesses appear by phone all the time. That is not unusual. And as Hassan pointed out, they could have done it for free on Skype. So it's not a financial issue. And they've disciplined him in 90 days. The reason he got 90 days and Jason got 30 is in August, the imam, the contract imam, trumped up this claim that Hassan had asked him to strap a suicide vest and go into the prison and blow it up. Now, I don't say he dislikes the imam, but I will. He doesn't like the imam. And he would by no means have any conversation with him of a serious nature. They gave him 30-day suspension because they found that to be true. Now, the imam didn't tell anybody about the conversation for a week. Supposedly, he's terrified by this claim the guy's going to make him kill himself. Well, you don't have to kill yourself, I suppose, even if he had said that. But then they hit him for 30 days, just as they were having a strike over prison industries last September. They embargoed him from being able to speak out. And that's what they do. They will shut him down any way they can. There's another inmate, I don't know if you've run across him, a gentleman named Sean Swain, who, if you look at his website, it's S-W-A-I-N, and he is an anarchist, right down to the bottom of his soul, and he doesn't put up with a truck from anybody. And I tried to get him some relief with the judge that has jurisdiction over that particular prison. I like her very much, but she's a former prosecutor, and she believes what the state says, which is kind of an uphill battle.
Can you talk about the review board? And is there any oversight from citizens as far as that board goes?
No civilian oversight at all. And the review, the ultimate review, feel good about your chances for appeal, is by Gary Moore, the director of the Ohio prison system. He's the final word. And so far as I know, I don't think he's ever reversed a finding.
And also the connection that Gary Moore has to the Lucasville 5 is that he was on the decision-making committee when the retribution came down on the Lucasville 5. So how that is not a conflict of interest, some sort of way for him to be, so intricately involved in the punishment phase for Imam Hassan, and then, basically be able to control what he can and cannot say. It just seems like there's an obvious conflict of interest there. What do you think?
There are huge conflicts. I mean, there is no justice in the justice system once you're in prison. The deck are stacked against you. The law the Supreme Court has passed down for 50 years is pretty much they can run the prison as they want. All they have to do is make some fleeting reference to safety, and they can impose whatever conditions they want. And the judges won't, you have a theoretical right to appeal. And you can bring the action, you can even bring it for free if you're impoverished. But what's gonna happen? I've had a number of these cases, I never got close to getting any relief.
Now, who is aware of what can happen to a person after, at this point, it's been since 2/27, so we're looking at approaching almost 3 weeks that they've been on this hunger strike. Can you talk about some of the things that happens to a person's body after even 2 weeks of being on?
It starts to shut down.
Mhm.
You are dying slowly. And at some point, if he doesn't come off it, they will try to force feed him, which is a horrible, horrible thing to anybody. But they have the right to do that because they got the keys to the door. I mean, I've been in virtually every Ohio prison, including the old Ohio Penitentiary in Columbus. I get out. I just walk up and show the little stamp on my hand and they let me go. I can't imagine what it would be like to be there for the length of time. One of the problems I have with my white collar clients is not the fact they might do 10 years if they're convicted, it's the first day. They simply are unable to imagine what it's like to be banged up for 24 hours and you get 24 years. And that's the horror with which we view it. But if it happens to anybody else, it's okay. I mean, I spoke to Rotary a couple of years ago, and I pointed out to them that the framers of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, put the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in there, and the 8th Amendment in for a reason. They thought we might need them. They thought they might be important in a free society. And they weren't a bunch of communists. The white power elite back then, and they said, we need this, and we need to recognize we still need it. Someone else needs to talk.
Yes, yes. I'd like to hear from the panelists. What do you think we should do as a community to support Imam Hassan and Jason Robb? And is there anything that we can do to make sure that this does not continue to happen? Because as we know, even by the time the review board hears the appeal, often the time of the punishment has already passed. So what would you recommend? And if any of you have any suggestions on how you can help, please let us know as well. But we can start with you, Brother Boatwright.
We can help by calling the prison, calling the wardens and the directors and showing some concern. That's really how you change laws, even in society. You got to show concern. You have to be relentless. It can't be casual phone calls. You got to be serious, and you got to be somewhat demanding at the same time. And that's how we can change it. But in the longer haul, we, as you know, we got so many different groups, so many different organizations. We want to make all these changes and stuff. But really, in reality, and I'm a self-taught political science student, and we need a war chest. We need a budget that we can fund certain politicians who perhaps may be slightly sympathetic towards, because politicians, they listen to money. I mean, even in the Tookie Williams situation, he had tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of supporters, but they still execute him. And the same thing will happen with Mubi Al-Jamal. Even though he didn't get executed, he's still doing a life sentence. So you have to know how to play the rules of their game sometimes. We have to be shrewd and sophisticated in our thinking and come up with different methods, because we need people that some people part of mainstream care about to join us. And then they'll start, because they're not going to listen to me. Who am I? You know, or any of us, no matter how many it is. But I'm not trying to discourage us from not getting together, but we got to come up with some 2017 strategies to make some change. And I don't really have all the answers, just a few suggestions.
My approach is a little different. I believe that we have to understand that this is a war, and you can't fight it the same way you've been fighting, because that way just doesn't work. So we have to understand that first, that there's a connection between us and them, and it does not break. See, our family, they're on their hunger strike now, but it's not hurting the warden. It's not hurting the people that make the decisions of, what's going to happen in there. So we on the outside have to do something as well as them on the inside to bring pain, to make those decision makers hurt. Because if we don't do that, then this will continue and continue. Now, none of us is responsible for the system how it is. But we will become responsible because we will be lazy if we don't do what needs to be done to change it. In order to change it, we have to revolutionize our thinking. Bring it up to the modern time. You understand that judges are either appointed or elected. So everybody that has somebody in prison has more family members representing them. Organize them in a systematic way. Then we go out and we target the people that we need to target, and we put pressure on them. They work, they make money, they need their jobs. We let them know that we got enough votes that you won't have a job because we don't approve of what you're doing. So we want it done differently. Our vote is power. Our organization is power. But if we don't do those things, little simple things that must be done, we'll let this stuff continue. And that can never happen. Because all of us is just one encounter away from being put behind bars. Thank you.
I think it's important to keep in mind what the electoral process is really like. You say, well, how could this group make a difference? In a close election, you can tip it. You don't. 45% of the people are going to vote for Republicans. 45% are going for Democrats. They don't care what they look like. They care what they smell like. It's the ones in the middle, and you don't need all of that remaining 10%. You need one vote more than the other side has. So to your point, if you can organize and strike, like hitting a nail on the head, you don't hit them all at once, you hit them one at a time. And who do you hit? You hit the governor. Gary Moore could care less what you think because you don't appoint him, you only pay him indirectly. John Kasich can make the difference. So if you're going to call, if you're going to write letters, write to him. Let him see, what is this about? What's going on here? The biggest problem with prisons is once the people are in there, you're invisible. We don't see you, we don't know you, we don't think about you. You're off the streets. And that's the way with all the hundreds of thousands of people in Ohio are banged up. You gotta let them know there are people out there watching and concerned and able to organize and do something about it.
Justice Center had a similar forum to this where they were discussing ways to address police brutality and corruption within our community. One of the things that I'm finding a common thread from then to now is the need for a vetting process and a panel of black community leaders. You can't get any political power or exercise any political power if we're still allowing various segments of the black community to argue and fight amongst each other and not talk directly to the community that's being affected by the indiscriminate laws. If the people don't understand what's going on and the people who lead us know what's going on but aren't talking directly to the people, you've already been divided, now you're ready to be conquered. So unless the people, and I'm gonna keep saying this until I see it happen or somebody just put together a panel consisting of the NOI, the NAACP, and every other black leadership organization in the city and address the black people in the city. You have chosen yourselves to be our leaders. Come lead. Don't lead amongst your organization. Lead amongst the community. Come talk to the schools. Go to the trap houses. Go down to the sets. Go down and talk to the old heads. Go talk to all these cats that's been up in the joint that know what the joint is and tell them to talk to these young boys and tell them, look, man, get on or get down because this is the only way we can fix this kind of problem. This is a multifaceted issue. And if we don't start attacking every facet of this issue, we're going to be still sitting here with our wheels spinning in the mud. That's just my 2 cents.
All right, and I agree with Brother Cyrus 1,000%. I was on some of those conversations about bringing together our leaders, and particularly our black leaders, to discuss black issues, and then work with Brother Cyrus to put together a plan in action. Unfortunately, when we talk about economic justice, when we talk about the prison industrial complex, those are unsafe issues for some of our leaders, religious, political, civil, and others, to address in our community. One of the things we got from 10-10-15 justice or else, that if we can't count on our leaders, our politicians, our pastors to do for us what they're sworn and charged to do, then we're going to take it upon ourselves to do it ourselves. One of the things that we're planning on doing with CSRN is developing policy. Out of the policy, we're going to grab and fund our own politicians to do what we want them to do. If they don't do it, then they lose our support. Politicians can be similar, give me 1 second, Brother Cyrus. Politicians can be similar to ladies of the night. Depending upon how much you support them will determine what they do. Unfortunately, as black people, we don't do that. We only vote. We don't fund them. We don't write policy so that they can take it to be voted on and passed. So until we start playing by our own rules regarding politics, then we are going to be seeing the same thing. But Brother Cyrus, those days are over, because we're going to stop depending on them, and we're going to do it ourselves.
You know, when we think about politicians, and I've been advocating this for years, some people think it's too radical, but I believe it's right where we need to be. We have a contract, and we ask them to sign the contract that if you deviate or if you sell us out, you give us the right to take your life. Okay? Now, the reason why I say this is because those who already know that they're going to sell us out,
That's right.
those that already know they're going to use our vote to enrich themselves, they will never sign it, because they're going to understand that we mean what we say. And so we don't have to waste time with them. See, because we waste too much time dealing with liars and cutthroat people who don't mean us anything. And we don't have time for it. So let's go straight to the point. If you sell us out, we will kill you. And they won't sign it. And we ain't even got to worry about it. Thank you.
I totally agree with the need for politics and political, because the prisons are now trying to some of the prisons are even trying to ban in-person visiting under the guise that people are bringing in contraband, when, you know, it's the staff that are doing that, not visitors. And we need to stand up for families that go and visit. I also think I've been doing some research for a talk I'm giving at the Prison Family Conference this May in Dallas on the impact of working in a prison is having on staff. And there are significant issues with PTSD, alcoholism, domestic violence, and suicide. This gives us also another avenue that there are people within the prison system that have an ability to speak out and make an impact as well. And I think that's another source that we can tap into.
I'm here, and the panelists are here, yes, to commit to making sure that we come together. Not so much from our organizational standpoint, but from a human standpoint. And to go back to looking at why they've punished Hassan so badly for speaking truth to power is because they do not want to humanize the struggle. You know, they don't want to have our confined citizens looked at like brothers and sisters. So I just want to commit to you that, as often as we need to coalesce, we're willing to do that as the Free Ohio movement. As often as we need to address any issues that might be going on the ground, we're willing to do that. So, I hope that this is just the beginning of a really good relationship from a communal standpoint. And what I'd like to do is ask the panelists, what are your thoughts on humanizing the struggle? And we know that that is something that the administration does not want to necessarily see. And I can't help but to think that that is part of the reason why they punished Imam Hassan so badly this time, is because you could actually see him. You could actually hear his voice. You could actually get an eye view of who this person is, not just based on what you may have read or seen in the media. So can you talk about humanizing the struggle from the panelists, and then we can start with you.
And also, this is Brother Sadiq Hassan right here. He is with us today, and be it the will of God, we're going to have a up-to-date interview that's going to be played of him today. We have to redistribute the pain. For all of us that love Dr. King, most of us love him because of his willingness to talk about little black boys and little white girls walking hand in hand. Some of us love him because of his dream that people will be judged by their character, not color. However, when his message changed to boycott and redistributing the pain, then things changed for Dr. King. After his subsequent meeting with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his focus now on economic justice, the government of the United States of America started plotting his assassination. And they were successful in assassinating Dr. King. So he didn't die for what he believed, he was murdered. We have to redistribute the pain. That's how I believe we can make this a human issue when the malls, when the Walmarts, all right, when the banks, when the banking industry starts to feel the pain that we're not going to participate in our own slavery at the made-up holidays that they give us every year, and then they add one on just in case we don't support the ones that they've given us. We have to show them that we're not going to support them with our dollars, maybe even start talking about our taxes that we're not properly represented on. So until they start feeling the pain, then they will change. Then they will look at us as human. Thank you.
I'm glad you brought that point up about humanizing the movement or Sadiq Hassan. What happens is we need to humanize the image of all prisoners, because what's happening is even Hillary Clinton and other people, they had painted this picture of prisoners, all prisoners being super predators. Right. And what we have to do, we have to be sophisticated enough to explain the socioeconomic precursors to a person committing a crime. You know, the environment that they were building. For example, myself, my mother and father passed away when I was a little kid. So I grew up with no mother and father, and I had drug dealers, you know, sadly, who raised me, who gave me money. So eventually I came to prison. But prior to that, I was an all-A student. So when I came to prison, it was easy for me to pick up textbooks or have my family buy textbooks what I need. But what's happening is we have to show more success stories of prisoners who went in there, such as Malcolm X, and educated themselves and explained to society what benefit they can have. Just like I was having Sister Tahira talk to a genius that's in prison. He's one of the smartest person I've met since I was in my 24-year period. We need to hear more stories about that, because you have brothers in there that are very smart. They can have major impact in society, but we don't know who it is, and we don't want to listen to them because we think they are monsters.
Right.
But here's another thing, and I was telling Sadiq Hassan this the last time I talked to him, and we dealing with the politics and the psychology of the movement. We have Sadiq Hassan, we have Mubir Al-Jamal, and many other people with tools secure and different people like that. But we need, and I sad to say that, but we need more white prisoners so that some people who give a more palatable image to the white people who have money, the white people has legislators' power. So we need more people who looks like the phenotypically the average American who's incarcerated, who committed a crime, who subsequently changed their life, and we really don't have that. Sadiku Hassan is a handsome man, strong, but to most Americans, he looked menacing. He got a beard and different things like that. Unfortunately, but this is how people judge you. But we need to humanize the image of prisoners by putting out there through the media more positive success stories of successful transformation back in society.
A little fact you might not know that explains just how important this humanization factor is. Hassan can be interviewed by anybody in the world. They can talk to him on JPay. What they can't do is get inside with a TV camera and interview him on film that can be shown. There is a rule against that. We will not let that kind of publicity. And that's why that Netflix documentary was so important. They could see him and see he's not ripping the heads off little babies. He's the guy who saved probably several guards down at Lucasville. That's why Nikki Schwartz asked me to represent him. He said, I want to make sure he gets a good lawyer. I got fired 8-9 months into representing him because I actually wanted to do the job. That humanization is hugely important. And if you could change one thing in the prison regulations, get it so they have to let, these are legitimate interviews. There's a lawsuit in the Southern District now on this very issue. The prisoners have been joined by a number of prominent journalists who were denied access. Maybe that'll come out of that case, and if it does, you're going to see a big difference in the way that prison operates. If they can start getting TV interviews, they can get photographs, they can put magazines. I mean, a journalist can't sell an article that doesn't have pictures.
That's right.
It just is not going to work. So they're very effectively locking the door.
I have a question about how that law actually works. You always get these TV crews that do, what is this on MSNBC, lockdown, and they're in the prisons and things. What are the guidelines for who can come in and interview? Because
Beats the hell out of me. Because I represent Tom Nolan, who was down south in the old man's prison down there, Hocking Hills. And I got the Columbus Dispatch in there to do an interview with a photographer. Mm-hmm. They had a TV station from Columbus go in to interview him. And he was interviewed, Father Robinson, also my client, he was interviewed by a national, Paul Lazan, the camera crew. They went in, by the way, Derek, the cameras they had came in 2 lockers, like big enough to hold you. And they took them back there and they filmed it and it was run on national TV. I don't know, but I do know when they tried to get in to see Hassan, they said no. Mm-hmm. And the interview with him that appears on Netflix, I think was done over JPay with the producer recording the interview without the authorities knowing it.
The humanizing, we have to, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I got with Brother Hassan. After Queen Tahira introduced me to him, then we talked briefly, and then I think it was maybe 3-4 months of no conversation. And then one night as I was coming home, he called me, and we're talking, and I'm telling him very honestly, I'm like, Brother Hassan, I really don't want to get involved. You know, I've already been involved with one person and got him out, so, you know, I got one win and I did, that was good. I really don't want to get back into it. You know, my organization, we're going one way. And he acted like he didn't even hear anything that I said. You know, he just kept on talking. You know, and I find myself taking notes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. When you gonna call me back? You know. And then I was on board full steam ahead. It is very, very crucial that we make that human connection. Because, we have this thing that's called the conscious community. And in order to truly be conscious, you have to understand, your connection to the Creator. You have to understand your connection to the universe, and you have to understand your connection to your fellow man. You have to understand that. You know that whatever happens to him happens to me. And if we allow what happens to him happen, it's going to come to me. No matter how much you hide yourself away in your nice house or way away here or way away there, it will find you. So the best thing to do is fight it before it finds you. Let's kill it before it gets to you. We all are each other. None of us is separate without the other. So let's remember that as we carry that forward and do the things that have to be done to free them all.
This is Brother Washington Muhammad, and I'm with Brother Imam Sadiq Abdullah Hassan. And, of course, we're recording this for March 25th, Saturday. And I want to get right into it, Brother Imam. Why should we be concerned about the prison industrial complex and its effect on poor communities, and particularly Black and brown communities? Can you speak to this?
Yes. Well, one of the reasons is that what people on the outside or people in general fail to realize is that the same government that is oppressing us behind enemy lines, it is the same government that are oppressing them out there in society. And the government have the tendency to try to pit those on the outside against those on the inside and vice versa. But we are all in this together. And just to give you a typical example of the tip of the iceberg, what I mean by the same exploitation we're going through, people on the outside is going through. Let's take, for example, prisoners in the state of Ohio make anywhere from $9 to $16 per month for their labor. So when you add that up, it amounts to pennies on the hour for their labor. They wash dishes, they mop floors, they make shoes, they make signs, license plates, they do all various different types of jobs, but they're not given the same benefit as people out in society. They cannot refuse to work, they cannot choose their job, they cannot choose to negotiate. They do not see the same benefits and protection as other people out in society receive. But let's do away with all that and let's look at the economic aspects of it. Like I said, prisoners are given pennies on the hour, and it amounts to economic exploitation. It amounts to slave labor. Prisoners cannot live off $16 to $18, $9 to $18 per hour. It's a starving wage. But when we look at what is going on out in society, just January the 1st of this year, the state of Ohio raised minimum wages to a single nickel. So now the state minimum wage for the state of Ohio is $8.15 per hour. Again, that is a starving wage. People out in society, they cannot live off that, and that's why it's essential for us to fight for $15 living wages for those out in society and fight for better wages for those that are incarcerated. Because when we allow the power that be of the legislative body in this state to give prisoners slave labor, if they do it to them, they would also do it to us. So we have to stand up for those on the outside as well as those on the inside, because our struggle are interconnected. Again, I want to emphasize the same government that is oppressing those of us behind enemy lines, it is the same government that oppressing those out of society. Our struggle is one and the same, and we have to unify our efforts to come together to bring about some true revolutionary changes for all Ohio citizens, whether you be out in society or they be in prison.
Okay, now that brings me to my next question. The title of this discussion is called Challenging Prisons for Profits. Why that title?
When the first prison was created in Pennsylvania, it was created to put person in a place where they would feel remorse, they would feel regretful for the crime that they actually committed, and hopefully they will go through a stage of a point of cleansiness, or repenting, or go through a stage of reformation, reforming and rechanging the way they think. And the prison system was geared toward rehabilitating prisoners. But that's no longer the case. Even though right here in the state of Ohio, we have the name Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. That is a myth. Rehabilitation no longer exists. All it amounts to now is just warehousing prisoners, and private companies are making profits off a prisoner. Take, for example, we recently won a victory about 18 months ago where the FCC, the Federal Communication Commission, it stepped in, and all across the United States, and Ohio is all across the country, if a prisoner would make a phone call, I'm right here in Youngstown, Ohio. If I made a phone call from Youngstown, Ohio to Toledo, Ohio, it would cost $4.95 for a 15-minute call. And to call anywhere out of the state, they used to charge an exorbitant price, anywhere from $15 to $24 for just a 15-minute call. So now the FCC stepped in and they put a cap on it. So now we won the victory in Ohio, where it's only 80 cents for an in-state call, and for out-of-state call is 95 cents for a 15-minute call. So Ohio was making, what was the exact? They was making $15 million per year in kickbacks and commissions because of the contracts they made with these private corporations. And then they have a food company, a private vendor that provides food. It's called Aramark. They was annually making $24 million. They were saving the state of Ohio $24 million in kickback and commission. So what is happening now? Rehabilitation no longer exists. It's all about profit. It's just the same thing with slaves back in the day of slavery. They would outsource slaves to various different corporations, and the prison authorities will make money. It is the same thing going on, and as long as we allow this to exist, we will never be able to eradicate crimes in our community. We will never be able to alleviate a lot of the problem goes in our community because the system is promoting crime. It is inducing people to crime. People have no way of taking care of themselves, their family, their friends, their loved ones. They're caught in a catch-22. So until we get together and challenge this corrupt system that is exploiting people for the and placing people in prison because corporate America and their friends could actually benefit from people labor, we're going to continue to have these problems. So it's very important that we come together to deal with this once and for all.
Okay, thank you. Last week we were passing out literature for this event today, and on our literature we have a quote from you, and the quote says that it's time for a broader struggle. People have to lift up their voice with force and determination and let them know that they're dissatisfied with the way things are actually being run. And someone asked me, how did you come to make that quote, and what was going through your spirit when you came up with that?
Through observation, Frederick Douglass made a very famous quote. He said, quote, "Without struggle, there's no progress." I understand that many people in society, they're going through their own struggles. A lot of times they don't have the time, the energy to get involved in various people struggling because they're struggling themselves. But one of the worst things for people to do is sit on the sideline or the comforts of their home or to sit idle on the train. We all are being affected by this super economic exploitation that is actually going on in this country. And I'm saying people have to lift up their voice with force and determination and let those in power know that we're no longer going to sit idle and tolerate this nonsense. We have to understand also that the power of the people is greater than those in power. In fact, it is the people that put them in power. So people must unify, come together, come up with an agenda, come up with a program, and try to figure out a way to enforce it. And that's one of the reasons we're having the program of the panel discussion in Toledo, Ohio at the Frederick Douglass Center, is because we want to have a discussion with the people in the community from a cross-section of the community, doctors, lawyers, attorneys, professors, students, average person, former prisoners, and the like thereof. We need to come together, put our minds together, set aside our differences, and try to come up with a workable solution to change the economic situation, to change the lifestyle that people are forced to live because they don't have the resources to do better for themselves and make Ohio a better place for all Ohio citizens.
I've got about 5 more minutes, and I want to thank the Free Ohio Movement, the Community Solidarity Response Network of Toledo, and the Toledoans for Prison Awareness for making this happen. This question needs to be asked of you. What are some of the things that you'd like to see come out of this discussion today?
I would like for us to come out with we know the problems. We're going to allow people should address the issues, but not just address the issues. We don't want to just address them and people get the impression, feeling that the situation is hopeless. We need those with good minds, good thoughts, those with the time and energy to try to come up with workable solutions. And once we figure out what's the best solution to try to get the problems resolved that people in Ohio is actually suffering, then we need to try to put them into a practical application, to try to implement them, get them passed through the legislative body. If we have to get out and march and have rallies and sit-ins and die-ins and the whole 9 yards and use our voting power, whatever we have to do. Remember, all is said in this game called love and war, and we have to do what the late Malcolm X said. We have to try to get it accomplished by any means necessary because it's long overdue. People in this great, this Midwestern heartland state don't need to be suffering the way they actually do. And politicians, they're always seeking Ohio's vote. Ohio is called a battleground state. It has always been known to be a battleground state because Republicans and Democrats was relatively the same, even 50-50, 47, 53, or whatever the case was, but it's called a battleground state. But now this state is more and more leaning toward the right, toward Republicans. We need to keep that balance, and the politicians know that they cannot really get in office without winning the state of Ohio. This is a very important state, and we have to use our power, the power of the vote, the power of letting our voices be heard, lift up our tongue, and let it be known again. Enough is enough. We're not going to tolerate this. And when they get the message, trust me, they will start granting us concessions and giving us the things that we need to make this a better state.
All right, listen, I want to thank you. We've got about 15 seconds left. I want to thank you for giving us this interview. For those that are listening, please log on freeohiomovement.org. And we always say that all lives can't matter until Black lives matter. Black lives can't matter until all Black lives matter. Justice or else, I want to thank you, brother. Shields up as always, and revolutionary salutes, brother.
Likewise, shields up and revolutionary salute. Let us go forward in the spirit of our predecessors. Peace.
What I'd like to do is yield to the panelists for any thoughts on what Imam Hassan had to say.
I liked it. This is my client, I have to say that. He is dead on, but think how much more powerful that message would have been had we been able to see it. And that's something we need. I think we really need to work on that. Because once you rip the mask off, then they can't hide anymore.
I agree.
with everything he said, but he says things so masterfully. I don't want to say anything to take away from it. I'll wait till another question come up.
I too agree with everything that our brother said. And we just got to make sure that we take it and make it real. You know, if we don't leave from here and begin to organize, then we just wasted our time. Okay? And I know for a fact I didn't drive all the way up here to waste my time. So let's put these thoughts into actions and let's make a difference, because we can. The power that we need, we have it. We just gotta not be afraid to use it. And just think about this. You know, when they got us and made us slaves, they made real good slaves out of us. Why? Because they put fear in you. Fear will stop you from doing a lot of things. But see, when you love God enough, when you love yourself enough, when you love your life enough, you will challenge everything that makes you afraid, and you will overcome it. So yes, when you're thinking about taking on and freeing Imam Hassan, changing the way the system is or destroying the system, yes, you're going up against the most powerful government there is on the planet. But you are more powerful than they, because they rely on you to do nothing, to sit back and let them operate how they choose. But if we let them do that, then it is on us, because we went asleep on our job, and then look what happens to America. You can't blame nobody but us. So let us do the right thing.
I guess all I'd add is I think what's important is to get a victory on some point. Then you can get your next one. And after you put 2 or 3 chalk marks on the wall, they're going to start realizing, hey, we got a group here that can do things. And that's where the fear will come.
I think from this point, we'll continue organizing and then executing. We started in 2014 with something called Black Lives Matter Day. It was right outside this auditorium. It was the same day that the Ku Klux Klan were organizing a speech downtown Toledo. And we wanted to do something not to show how afraid we were, but we wanted to do something to be able to counteract that. And also we sent vans downtown to get our young brothers and sisters that were part of that planned distraction. Then what we wanted to do, we wanted to plan what we call our Black Lives Matter Awards. We know that Oscars were so white that they wouldn't recognize us anyway, but we wanted to do something not only to recognize those 40 and under in our community that were making a difference, we also wanted to raise money to help local Black nonprofits that are striving to make our community a safe and decent place to live. We organized, we planned, we executed. And our Minister Louis Farrakhan talked to us about the Joshua generation and those young cults, which are our young, educated young people. So what we did, we had what we call our Black Lives Matter Scholar Luncheon. What we did, we raised over nearly $2,000 to make sure our students at the University of Toledo, at Toledo Early College, had a leg up. And we didn't wait for our politicians. We didn't wait for our premier organizations to do it. We decided to do something for ourselves. So it is with this. When we decide to strike a blow, we're going to plan and we're going to execute. So Brother Maurice, Attorney Kerger, Brother Boatwright, we're not going to just come here, meet the meat, and then go home. Those days are long gone. They're done. If we have to go with myself and Queen, or myself and Antoine, or Christina, or Dr. L, we're there. All right? So it doesn't matter anymore regarding who shows up. Somebody's going to show up. And I want, if you don't mind, Sister Queen, if you can give us some of your thoughts. You asked us for questions all day. Can you give us some of your thoughts on the time and what must be done, sister?
I most certainly can.
Well, I too want to reiterate the fact that we appreciate everybody's energy today. We know that this is something that can't be done, again, in the silos, that we have to come together as a community. A couple of the things that Imam Hassan mentioned are also on our demands from the Free Ohio Movement. There are 19 demands, minimum wage, also representing the confined citizens as far as their right to vote, which is a direct impact into the political system in the state of Ohio. That is on our demand list. And we also need to address the fact that for decades, I remember as a child traveling with my grandmother to go see my cousin who was in Lebanon. And it was a trek. But because we had that family tie and that family commitment, it was a long ride, but we did it. You know, a few times a month, my dad would drive my grandmother up to see my cousin. So this is not something that a lot of us are doing. We have some sort of tie, some sort of commitment from our heart to do this work. And that's what it's going to take. We've seen the Department of Corrections move from rehabilitation to strictly punishment and correction. And we all know that even though the prison system has failed us, it was never meant to strictly punish people. And that's what it's gone down to. You know, today's title was Prisons for Profit. You know, there are companies that are making millions and millions of dollars off of suffering. And I don't know how inhumane anything can be other than slavery. And that's exactly what we're co-signing to by continuing to pay our taxes, okay? By continuing to vote Republican and Democrat, and by continuing to remain silent. You know, and when you get an opportunity to have a conversation with anyone, whether they look like you or not, we recommend that you have it. And please recommend that people go to freeohiomovement.org, check us out, sign up to volunteer, because we can't do this without you. So I yield.
Say something brief. I'd like to thank and commend everybody who came here, who took their time out, and especially Sister Tahira and D. Jones. D. Jones been working for, on behalf of Sadiq Hassan for years, and some people that's not here, they stalking Lynn, them. And lastly, Richard Kerger. And I heard so much about him. I read some of your legal writings you have done, and I suppose I had recommend the book. I'm gonna get back to it. But anyway, I want to thank you personally for all you did for my friend, and you have been one of my unsung heroes for real.
Ever since I was 8, 9 years old, I can't stand bullies. And when somebody is being put down by a bully, I can't walk away from it. Whether I can win or not, doesn't matter. I'm going to stay with them, we're going to fight it. Right all the way, and I think we can win this. But, like Chairman Mao said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. We got to take a step today, we're going to take one tomorrow, take one after that, and we'll get there.
Definitely. I'd just like to say again, thank you for having me. It was truly a pleasure. And continue this. We have to continue. Next time we have one, bring somebody else with you. You know, let's go knocking on doors. Hey, I'm quite sure everybody knows somebody who's locked up. Everybody knows this thing has affected masses. There's no way that you can go that people are not affected by this. So we can do this. Let's make up our mind and let's get it done. And we will redirect things, and it will be a better way to go. Thank you.
At one of the last events that I attended, Brother Antoine, whom I've worked with for a long time here in Toledo, had something to say, and I wanted to give Brother an opportunity before we close out.
when we get incarcerated, we understand we did the crime, we have to do the time, but we also understand that we don't need to be mistreated. Now, they pimping us for real, you know, to be serious, you know. When I got sentenced to my 3 years, I didn't do my crime, but I was there as an assessor, so I had to do my time. I did my 2 years, they let me off early. Now, the point I'm getting out at is, like you said, you're only getting paid pennies per day. But when I got out, I'm a felon now, a young black man. Where's my job at? I made a mistake, and they say rehabilitation. I came home, no record. The only thing I've been locked up for was this robbery. So now I come home, no job. I'm going, and now I got fines to pay. But I got a year over my head. Got out 2 years and got one over my head. If I don't pay these fines, the judge can send me back each time I mess up for something. I can keep going back. So until my fine is paid, guess what? I'm still underneath them. Did 2 years, really since the 3 years probation. That's 6 years of me being pimped by the system. And how I'm gonna come up with like $3,000 if I can't find a job? See, it's called a revolving door. Recidivism is high because we come back home, we get with our homies and do all this other stuff, so we get back to selling drugs, this and that, to get out of the system, but we steady in the system because if I pay my debt to society, what I gotta fine for? Every time I drop urine, it's $5. I don't have a job. So therefore, I resort to selling drugs or whatever. But luckily, that didn't happen for me. I'm just saying that's just how it goes. So you wonder why people got several numbers or whatever, why they keep going back. A lot of people don't go back because they want to do crime. It's that they trying to get some type of survival and they get caught up. And so they looking at them like they bad in the community. Now, I'm gonna tell you this another reason. Us as grown men, we not being held accountable. We're talking about holding our leaders accountable. We need to be held accountable at our homes. Jail is glorified in this music. People are talking about how much time they did, what they did when they got locked up, how many hoes they had, what they were slinging, this and that and this, how many chains they got, all this and that. And we are sitting here letting our kids listen to this garbage. And we are not their role models no more. These people on TV and these music, we letting them be our kids' role models. So we want to end people going to prison. Let's start at home. If we don't start at home, we can't blame these politicians for nothing because they eat. And they getting their kids off with their money and off of our money. So unless we start at home, a forum like this ain't gonna mean nothing. If we don't get our daughters from out here trying to wear these leggings all the time and they don't get on no regular pants and learn how to iron and wear some skirts, cover their hair up, because men are visual, these women being out here, they getting raped and attacked and all this and that, and they say they corrupt. It starts at home. A woman needs to teach a woman needs to teach a girl how to be a woman. But all they doing now is smoking dope and high and drunk with their kids. So you wonder why the incarceration rate is so high. Because we fell in at home, first of all. We can't blame these, we can't. And then another thing that we do, we teach our kids, look at the officer, don't act bad, they're gonna arrest you. You teaching the kids to fear police as their kids. They're not supposed to fear police. You know what I'm saying? We got to start at home. If we don't start at home, this means nothing.
All right, as we close, thank you so much, brother, for your energy. As we close, please go to the back and eat. We would like to thank the hands that prepared this food. And even though some of us have already nibbled, it would be nice to bless the food. So thank you again for coming. Please go to www.freeohiomovement.org, volunteer, and become a part of the movement.
We began today with one of the repeat after me's. I like to end. Repeat after me. I, your name, pledge to strive, to love my brothers and my sisters, as I love myself. I, your name, pledge to strive, to study, to improve myself, spiritually, mentally, morally, and physically, for the benefit of myself solution,
to be a part of the solution,
the process, and not the problem. I, your name, pledge to strive, to give all that I can spare, of my time, my strength, and energy, to achieve the above said.